My name is Carl and I am ambitious.
Through you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Ambitious PWA Empowerment Forum.
Cause it's you who gives me strength, and nothing is impossible.
The Autism Society Philippines Self-Advocate Circle is a group designed for people with autism to collaborate and come together to create projects and also create plans that will challenge fellow people with autism to be more expressive and understanding in furthering the cause.
We are a group of self-advocates composed of young adults with autism. It's an event where we tell our challenges, our goals.
I want to put up my business someday, so I will apply what I have learned. God has a plan for me.
I do not expect society to spoon feed me. I expect that society can act differently regarding with my goals in life.
I want the society to end discrimination, ridicule, and bullying.
We are capable of spreading awareness and support towards our fellow PWAs.
To see you all up here, speaking for yourselves, parang sabi ko, wow, parang this is really one of the milestones, no, na ginawa natin na parang hindi namin ma-imagine nun. We are all ambitious.
All right, thank you. Welcome to our session for this afternoon. My name is Mona Magno-Veluz, and I'm the National President of the Autism Society Philippines. This event is much anticipated. Voter education for neurodiverse Filipinos, I believe, is something that has never been done. So we're very excited for this session today. Our session is being streamed live on Facebook. So if ever your internet is not as strong and you are lost, then we will. You can also join us via Facebook. Sir Senin will be monitoring our waiting room so that everybody is brought in as quickly as possible. We want everyone to be participative. We want you to make the most out of this opportunity. So the video we showed at the top of the hour proves how important it is for adults on the autism spectrum to express themselves. And this is even more important in the context of exercising their rights to vote for a leader who will stand for what is important to them. This voter education seminar is for potential and existing voters with neuro-developmental conditions and their families. And this seminar intends to promote voter registration and participation in the next elections. Today, we are very honored to be joined by COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon via a pre-prepared message, CHR Commissioner Leah Armamento, COMELEC Director Jovy Balanquit, ASP Self-Advocate Circle President Ian Lopez, and representatives from the ADHD Society of the Philippines, Association for Adults with Autism Philippines, Best Buddies Philippines, and Boundless Possibilities Foundation. We aspire for the neuro-developmental disability community, those who live with autism, ADHD, Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities, among many others, to be informed of simplified steps in registering to vote and ultimately in exercising their right to vote. We hope this event becomes a platform to bring to COMELEC also our issues and challenges specific to voters on the autism spectrum and those with other neurodevelopmental conditions. After this webinar, our coalition of disability advocates, our loose coalition of disability advocate organizations intend to prepare and present a position paper on the needs of individuals on the autism spectrum and the families who care for them based on what we discussed today. So before we begin, I have the privilege, honor, or task to also set a few ground rules. Please listen. Number one, please go on mute, especially when the presentations begin. Please maintain a professional demeanor if you choose to open your video camera. So if you're moving around, if you're in the middle of something, please turn off your video so it does not distract others. Please be respectful if you choose to use the chat. You may use the chat on the bottom of your screens to ask questions while the presentation is ongoing. Questions will be answered during the open forum later. If you would also like to receive digital certificates, all right, like I was saying, those who want a certificate of attendance or participation, you can fill out the attendance form that should be in the chat room by now. All right, so it is also my distinct pleasure and privilege to play and introduce our first messenger of hope, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon of the COMELEC. She has been a staunch supporter of the autism community. In fact, she was among those who ushered the hiring of persons on the autism spectrum within COMELEC. So let me share and play the message of Commissioner Guanzon for you today.
Happy New Year! Nandito po ako sa bahay namin sa Cadiz. Malayo man ako, ay malapit po kayo sa aking puso. Ang aking pamangkin na si Greg, 24 years old, ay may autism din. And because of him, we are better persons and more compassionate persons in our family. Lahat po kayo, you're a blessing not only to your families, but to other Filipinos as well. Kung alam lamang nila kung gaano kayo kamahal, gaano kayo kahalaga, at pahalagahan namin kayo sa COMELEC dahil kayo ay nararapat at may karapatan na bumoto. Magparehistro po kayo kasama ang inyong mga pamilya at kung sa eleksyon sa May 2022 ay bumoto po tayong lahat, lalo na ang ating mga pamilya, sa mga nararapat na mga leader na tapat at tuwid at may pagpahalaga sa ating mga anak at pamilya na may neuro-developmental difficulties. Sana po ay sama-sama tayong lahat pagparehistro at bumoto sa May 2022. Maraming salamat. Mahalaga po kayo. Mahalaga po kayo sa Pilipinas. Kaya dapat po kayong bumoto. Happy New Year uli!
Thank you so much to Commissioner Guanzon, and thank you for for gracing us with your presence, even if it is digitally. I seem to be having some technical difficulties. Please ignore the jarring images. So I will instead introduce you to our next participant or next guest of honor. I would like to present Commissioner Leah Armamento of the Commission on Human Rights.
Thank you, Ma'am Magno-Veluz. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone will have a healthy and lucky 2021. Shout out to my friend, Commissioner Bing Guanzon. Kapwa ko po Bisaya. In behalf of the Commission on Human Rights and as the focal commissioner for children and for persons with disability, I salute the Autism Society of the Philippines for its determination to hold this activity despite of the pandemic, which renders a lot of Filipinos at a loss of coping to the new ways of life. This is indeed a manifestation that persons with disability is as good, if not better, than the rest of us. The Commission on Human Rights has the mandate under our 1987 Constitution to protect, respect, and fulfill the rights of all people in the Philippines and Filipinos abroad, especially the marginalized sectors such as persons with disability, the indigenous people, and persons deprived of liberty. For the election purposes, the Commission on Human Rights has a monitoring body which partners with civil society organizations like IDEALS to ensure that the right of persons with disability for the exercise of their rights to cast their votes during election is fulfilled. Today's topic, voter education for neuro-diverse Filipinos, brings to fore the right and the desire of neurodiverse Filipinos to participate and to decide on the people which they will put in the reign of the government to run this country. Putting this right to vote of persons with disability to the consciousness of the public will make our politicians look at this sector as a force to reckon with, a voting bloc whose rights must be respected, protected, and fulfilled to their full satisfaction. This forum should now jumpstart a series of fora that will eventually make our politicians court us, our persons with disability sector, if they want to be placed in the position to govern. Let us strengthen our persons with disability sector by making their votes count and bring them to the doors of power, their rights, and demand from those who holds the reign of the government their obligations to respect, protect, and fully satisfy these rights and nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that message of hope, Commissioner Leah. We are very honored that you have chosen to be with us today, not just for the message, but for the entire session. The participation of the leaders of COMELEC and CHR is a testament to the importance of our community to government. I think there's more recognition today of the importance of our voices and the voices of our children when constructing policy and, of course, when selecting our leaders. So the next speaker that we have today is really the gentleman who will be giving us the gist of things. Our next speaker is heading up the Vulnerable Sectors Office of the Commission on Elections. He has actually visited the ASP at some point last year because there has really been a lot of interest and a lot of concern about the needs of our community. Napakasaya po na talagang pinagtutuunan na ng pansin ng COMELEC ang ating pamayanan. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the current director of the Vulnerable Sectors Office. He's also the concurrent assistant director of the NCR of COMELEC. And let me just, there we go. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Jovy Balanquit.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioner Leah Armamento, ma'am. And of course, to my dear Commissioner in COMELEC, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, who is also an advocate for PWD rights. For Ma'am Mona, no? Magno-Veluz, and all the representatives of various organizations or the neuro-developmental community. Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to share the autism community, the Autism Society, in the celebration of their National Autism Consciousness Week. No? And of course, I would also would like to thank and to congratulate and to commend Ma'am Mona Veluz or of ASP for spearheading this voter education parallel with what the vulnerable sectors in COMELEC is doing right now. So this is an important and relevant and timely activity for all of us, especially all those who are in this because would election preparations are ongoing for the 2022 national and local elections. So let me share my screen so that I could proceed with my discussion on registration, all of the voting process from registration up to the casting of votes. Yay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Do you see my screen now? Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
All right. So,
Yes, po, sir.
once again, good afternoon. Yes. Once again, good afternoon. And I am here as a representative of the COMELEC, particularly the Vulnerable Sectors Office, the newest office in COMELEC, which was created just last year, consolidating in one office all the three sectors, the vulnerable sectors, the PDL, the IPs, and the senior citizen and the persons with disability. So we are now the new office in COMELEC that would cater the issues and concern about the PWD, including those with neurodevelopmental disorder. All right. So this afternoon, I'll discuss all about the voting process, starting with the voter registration. So voter registration is essential to the exercise of your right to vote. Uh, Without registration, one cannot vote. No registration, no vote. So it is therefore important that all of us, especially though all qualified Filipino citizens, not otherwise disqualified by law, to apply for the registration should be the first operative act for one to exercise his right to vote. With the first part of my presentation, voter registration. Uh,
We seem to have lost the audio on Commissioner Balanquit. So we are going to wait for him to get back. Celine, can you please make sure that
Yeah.
our speaker is back
Okay.
online as soon as possible? In the
Yeah.
meantime, I guess we could get Ma'am Leah of CHR. Ma'am Leah, are you near your uh, computer?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in. I'm trying
Hello.
to type my name. Yes, ma'am.
Opo. We were yeah, so while we're um
For
yeah,
Director
we're
Balanquit.
waiting for sure, no? We'd like to ask ma'am, the CHR at the moment has uh are having a lot of initiatives with regards to plotting and understanding the community of persons with disabilities. Can you share a little bit po on what CHR has been up to?
I am the focal commissioner for persons with disability. We have established a center that caters to persons with disability. In the meantime, it is under the Economic Socio-Cultural Rights Center, and we are strengthening it by hiring persons with disability to create a platform to receive data and to populate it. These are different. These are people of different spectrums in the whole universe of persons with disability, and we also represent uh, the we join the government in the delegation of persons with disability, and the Commission on Human Rights sits as a representative of the Asia Pacific in the United Nations Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institution Working Group on Persons with Disability. And the Philippines, the CHR, was designated to be the repository of the data of best practices that may be gathered by the National Human Rights Institution of Canada. In the meantime, we are urging the government to develop a monitoring tool and designate a body that will monitor the fulfillment of the rights of persons with disability, because there were already laws that were passed like the accessibility law, but these are not yet fully implemented. And so during 2 years or 2019 uh, reporting of the Philippine government to the expert committee on persons with disability before the United Nations, one of the findings there is that we do not have a monitoring body. The UN had already given us a monitoring tool, but I think this was not yet developed into our own local monitoring tool. And as members of the National Council on Disability Affairs, we are urging the NCDA, and we are supporting them, that we develop this monitoring tool, because this is very important to make sure that our duty bearers, especially our government, our Department of Health, our Department of Public Works and Highways, the Department of Justice, complies with the requirement for to have the rights of persons with disability fulfilled, and to have them access physical access, also access to justice. Like there is already the Supreme Court already passed the rules of court on the appointment of interpreters, because we have difficulty, especially if children are born deaf. So there is difficulty in communication. So there are a lot of things that we are doing, and like we are inviting you, if you feel to come, or feel free to engage the Commission on Human Rights, because not all your needs, we are not aware of all your needs, and we welcome any suggestion or comment for anything that you think needs to be improved in insofar as the services of the Commission on Human Rights is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So I think again, while we're waiting for Sir Jovy, we will take this opportunity to ask CHR na po on more practical matters. So it's great that we have all of these policy conversations and best practices conversations. However, especially over the last 2 months, there has been a lot of discussion on the rights of persons with autism, specifically, how they were not respected in a popular resort in Cebu. As a lawyer and as a key commissioner of the Commission on Human Rights, what do you think what are your opinions about this? What if that was us? If anak po namin yung natrato ng ganon, what would you recommend for us?
Of course, ma'am, there are like many remedies available personally and institutionally. Personally, if if I am a parent, I have to bring the I have to inform this this is a plantation bay, isn't it? The plantation bay. Hello.
Yes, we're here, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I have to inform the plantation bay that you put my son or my child to embarrassment. So I am entitled to remedial measures. Like I am entitled to civil damages if even exemplary damages. Like exemplary damages is a damages for penalty for acts that is wrongly done against my my child, and then I can also ask for like actual damages because we've spent so much money for my child to enjoy, and then you have not because of your policy which did not accommodate persons with disability, then I might be entitled to actual damages. You have to pay, refund all the expenses that I have incurred in going to your place, riding the plane, the transportation, the food, and even the payment for the hotel. And of course, there is also an administrative remedy. I can go to the Department of Tourism, and I am not sure if we can go against them for discrimination. In the meantime, in our last meeting on children with disability, the Department of Justice reported that Assistant Secretary Carpio had already submitted a report to the Secretary on the result of the investigation conducted by the Department of Justice on this incident. So we don't know yet what was the result because it's still with the Secretary of Justice.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So just a practical, again, this is us being practical. Actually, we were contacted by the Department of Justice and also by the Plantation Bay itself. No, we've had those conversations. Unang-una po, especially sa area ng human rights. Kadalasan ayaw na po namin ayaw na naming masyadong magulo yung buhay. Parang magulo na nga yung buhay namin sa mga anak namin. Tapos dadagdagan pa natin ng sakit ng ulo. So not everybody has the parang
the time, you don't have the effort.
Yes, the effort. So from what I know po, itong Plantation Bay was also given already an administrative
sanction.
Yes,
Sanction.
parang 10,000 pesos po for damage to the tourism industry. So that was the reason why they were sanctioned. So wala pong kinalaman sa
bata,
sa karapatang pantao ng mga taong may kapansanan. So ano po ang mare-recommend ninyo kung meron po tayong mga magulang o mga pamilya na parang hesitant kasi may appearance pa o ayan masusulat pa kami ng letter, meron ho bang mas madali?
Kami po sa Commission on Human Rights, even if you do not complain to us, we go and investigate. Actually po, inimbestigahan din ito ng Commission on Human Rights. So, we will do the actions for you, like we call their attention. And then, sometimes we mediate if one of the parties want it. So, we give legal assistance. So, we are not that formal like the courts or the prosecution wherein parties are summoned. We go to the parties, we go to the places of incident because Commission on Human Rights are not bound by that kind of rules. So we are just a call away. We have a hotline. If you open our website, we have a hotline where you can call us and we respond because we have the QRT, quick reaction team. And if you do not respond, our chairperson will get angry. So we will make sure that we will respond.
All right. Pero is there a report, ma'am, from the CHR on
I think we have. Yeah,
involving individuals with disabilities?
Yeah, tsaka kasi di ba, it is part of our obligation. Actually, we have files of report, and it's, as I've said, it's part of our obligation because regularly we report to the UN. So we gather data about that. So actually nga meron din kaming tool on wherein we develop with the Asia Pacific University. Asian University. We developed that to monitor how does persons with disability perceive the government insofar as their needs are met. So we have developed the tool. We have the Economic and Socio-Cultural Rights Center that is focused on this, on persons with disability. So we have the data there, and we are creating an observatory, which is a database platform.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Just to keep everyone updated, I think there has been some, we are unable to go beyond 100 participants. We have 100 participants today. So we would like to request those who are not voters on the autism spectrum, if you could kindly log out so we can allow those on the spectrum to there we have now Sir Jovy. There we go. O tuloy ang ligaya dahil andito na po si Sir Jovy. Hello Sir Jovy.
Hello, nako, I'm so sorry for that. No? This should not
There we
happen on
go.
election day, no?
Ayos lang po, Sir Jovy. But as much as possible, dapat strong yung internet connection mo, preferably yung may cable po.
All
Yeah,
right. Yes, I believe naka-LAN cable na si Sir.
okay.
Ayan.
I'm sorry for the. Okay, let's make use of the remaining time allocated for me. Okay.
Go.
Okay, let me share my screen again. No, wala pa. Can I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. So clear now.
Ayan.
Okay, sige. Sorry for this, no? Sa election hindi pwedeng mangyari yan, no? So
Walang problema, sir.
okay, so let me continue and let me try my best to finish all the those things that I need to discuss. All right. So registration, as what I've said, should be done in COMELEC offices. So particularly the COMELEC offices in every city or municipality nationwide. No. So registration should be done through filing an application. Application is done through through an online application form or through the e-register platform of COMELEC. No? But all right, so process that the voter should go to COMELEC office for the taking of the biometrics or capturing of the biometrics data. So when to register, the registration started as early as January 2020. So when to register, you register now. No, the registration is ongoing under the system of continuing registration. That is nationwide, but the registration is conducted only in COMELEC offices. There is no off-site or satellite registration yet as of this time due to the pandemic. And the COMELEC have put in place some safety, health and safety protocols for the safety of the applicants as well as the personnel of COMELEC. So just for your information, the registration period is until September 30, 2021. So we still have more than 8 months or 255 days to be exact for the last day of registration. So that is still a lot of time for everyone, for all potential and qualified voters who are here, and including your family members. If they are not yet registered, there's still time for you to register for in order to vote for the next election. So register now. No, again, the last day is September 30, 2021. Beyond that, no more registration for the 2022 elections. So take note of the last day. All right. So let's now start with the registration process. How do you start with the registration? Again, it's in the local COMELEC offices or in satellite registration or offsite registration. At this time, the satellite registration is suspended because of the pandemic. So hopefully by the second quarter or the last month of the first quarter, we will have to launch the satellite registrations, especially for the vulnerable sector, the persons deprived of liberty, the IPs, and the persons with disabilities and the seniors. So registration, not only registration are the applications that are accepted in COMELEC offices. So there are other also types of applications that may be relevant for those of us here to Thursdays, no? 8 o'clock in the morning up to 3 o'clock. Why 4 days only? The Fridays are for disinfection or sanitation of the offices. So that is again for the protection of the the registrants and the personnel. So, but the registration days includes holidays, no? So Mondays to Thursdays. So what to bring during the registration?
Meron. Magre-register.
Hello. Let me proceed. What to bring during the registration? So you have to bring with you documents to prove the identity and to prove the residence. So these are the student's ID, the employee's ID, the senior citizen's ID, the driver's license, and other valid IDs. No, so these are the documents that are needed to support the registration, particularly the identity and residence. Uh, for first-time voters, you need to bring with you your birth certificate or any document indicating the proof of birth, no? So that COMELEC would know whether you are within the voting age. By the way, an applicant must be at least 18 years old on the day of the election. So you do not you could be 17 now, and yet you are allowed to register for as long as by May 9, 2022, you turn uh, 18. So these are the documents that are required. Any of those valid ID should be presented to COMELEC when you apply for registration. Right. Since it's pandemic, there are other health and safety protocols that needs to be observed. No, there is to be face mask and face shield. No, COMELEC approve or any valid ID. Then it's advisable that they bring ball pen with them, and there is it's advisable also that they have a pre-accomplished registration form, no? By downloading some forms in via the internet. Now, if you don't have, the COMELEC will provide you with that. But it would be easier for you to the persons deprived of liberty. There is a separate sheet known as the supplementary data, no? And the coronavirus self-declaration form. So these are the things that you need to bring with you together with the identification document to prove the identity. So that's the form. At the right side is the form, the revised form for registration. Okay, you just need just to check the type of application. So the first oval there is application for registration. That's for all for the new voters here. No? And there are other types of applications there that I will explain later. All right. So that's the form. You need to accomplish three of these registration forms. No, don't forget again to check. No? So I would advise that you prepare the uh, the form before you go to COMELEC offices or before you seek an appointment. It's better for us to book an appointment just would entertain you whether you have an appointment or not. So that's the courtesy the persons deprived of liberty, including our neuro-developmental community members. So that's the form, and that's the supplementary data that I was telling you a while ago. There are the types of disability that you need to check, so that the COMELEC would have record, and they also have to indicate the type of assistance that you need on election day. And you are being asked whether you would want to avail of the accessible polling place. Uh, Preferably, you avail of the accessible polling place so that you will be assigned to a permanent precinct located on the ground floor. And that would be the permanent precinct in the whole time that you are registered voter. Otherwise, if you do not want to avail of the accessible voting polling place, which is also located in the same voting center, uh, you will be assigned in an emergency accessible polling place if you want, or you can vote in your respective your regular precinct in a priority lane. So these are the options that you could have. So again, that's the supplementary data. Do not forget that for all of you, you need a supplementary data. So this is for person with disabilities. All right. For those who are already registered voters but who have not yet updated your registration record by accomplishing the supplementary data, we have a project now. We are launching the project that you update your record if you want to avail and vote in the accessible polling place. Now, otherwise, you will vote in your regular precinct uh, or in an emergency accessible polling place that we will set up on the ground floor also of the voting center. Okay, there are other types of applications. This one may be relevant to those who are already registered voters. Once you are registered, you are forever a registered voter, unless the court would nullify someday all the list of voters. But once you are registered, you are forever. So if you transfer your residence in another place, you do not need to register. Instead, you just apply for a transfer of your registration. Now, if you get married, uh, you do not need to register, but instead you apply for a change of name, or if there are errors or in the registration form, you can apply for correction. So if you have transferred residence from Manila to Quezon City, you just need to apply for a transfer of registration in Quezon City. No, so after the approval of your application, the registration in Manila will be deleted, and will only the registration in Quezon City will exist. No, all right. So those are the other types of applications. So again, you do not need to register anew after you have registered. So during the application, you submit your form, then you will be assigned to a particular precinct depending on the address. So there are precincts so delineated by boundaries and every precinct has 200 maximum registered voters. So if we exceed the number of voters in that particular precinct, we create a spin-off or daughter precinct. Okay. So the last part of the registration is the taking of your biometrics data. That consists of your picture, your photograph image, your digital fingerprint, and your digital signature. Okay. So that's the last part, the capturing of biometrics data. So these are part of the registration process. Now, if you're availing of the e-registro program of COMELEC, you will have to accomplish the registration form in your respective homes, and you go to COMELEC for an appointment for the taking of the biometrics data. So, tapos na po yung, kung mayroon na kayong appointment, kung nag-avail kayo ng e-registro, kaya nagpa-appoint na kayo, dala nyo yung registration form, you just have to go to COMELEC offices in your residence, in the area of where you reside, and have your biometrics taken. So that's the last part of the registration steps. No? So pagkatapos po magparehistro ay you will receive this acknowledgement receipt or the registration stub. So that's the proof that you have applied for registration. But that in itself is not an approved application. No? So just to give you an idea, ganito po yung mangyayari after you filed your application. The application, the list will be posted, then there will be hearing by the Election Registration Board in every COMELEC nationwide. No, so there are times that the applications are being objected to by any registered voter. So yun ang tawag na opposition. Pag wala naman, all the applications are approved. As a general rule, you are not required to appear during the hearing of your application for registration. You're not required unless the application is being opposed by anyone. So, pag walang opposition, your application is deemed approved. No? And now, after the application is approved, your name will be found in the list of voters. So, yan na po ang list of voters, yung election day computerized voters list, kung saan nandun yung inyong digital signature, nandun yung inyong photograph, andun yung inyong precinct number. So that's all about registration, no? So you are now ready to the next phase of the voting process, which is the casting of votes. So registered voter na kayo. So therefore, your names are now found in the registry, in the list or registry or voters registry. We call in our jurisdiction as the list of voters. In other election management bodies, they call it voters registry. So you can check your name with COMELEC office if what precinct or what voting center will you be voting on election day. No? All right. So again, don't wait for the last day. Register now. The last day of registration is September 30. Okay, so you can wait for the conduct of satellite registration in your respective barangays or in your community upon arrangement with your organization. For person deprived of liberty, you can request from COMELEC local office for the conduct of registration in your area. So register now. Do not wait for the last day because a lot of applicants, a lot of potential or qualified voters normally go to COMELEC on the last days. So register as early as you can. Okay. So now being a registered voter, we go to the next part of this topic. Ito yung casting of vote, no? Paano ang pagboto? No? All right. Yung pagboto natin, dalawang system ng elections sa COMELEC. No, dalawa ang ginagamit nating system, yung manual election system at saka yung automated election system. If it is a barangay election or a plebiscite, we use a manual election. If it is national and local, synchronized, we use automated election system. Okay, so you are now a voter, you can vote in either a manual election system and in an automated election system. All right. In 2022, that would be an automated election system because that would be presidential or national and local synchronized. So it's best for us, having been registered, to vote. Okay. So just for record, we still have 476 or 15 months before the May 19 election. So you still have a lot of time, but the registration will end on September 30. Okay, just to give you an idea, if it is a manual or during a barangay election, we use the traditional yellow ballot boxes, then the manual count. No? So if you remember, for those of us who have already voted, you are given a blank ballot where you write your candidates of your choice. That's in a manual election. Then there is the ballot box that we use during a manual election. Then you have the manual counting after the voting. But during an automated election, you use a machine for the casting of votes. Use the machine for the counting of votes. And we use the machine for the transmission of votes to the canvassing for the proclamation of the winning officials. All right. So what are the positions to be elected in the 2022 elections? So this is national and local elections synchronized. So you will have to elect president, vice president, 12 senators, one party list. You have one governor, one vice governor, board members, and the congressman. Then in the cities, you have to vote one mayor, one vice mayor, and such number of Sangguniang Panlalawigan members. All right. So how do you cast your vote? So you go to your voting center, and in every voting center, there is an assigned classroom for your precinct or for clustered precinct. Para sa individual precinct, merong sariling polling place, no? Ang mga presinto po ay pinagsasama-sama together. Sometimes it depends upon the policy of the commission. For instance, in 2019, 800 registered voters in one clustered precinct. So in 2022, we might have 1,000 registered voters maximum in one clustered precinct. Right? You go to the and you have to go to your precinct. It is there that you will cast your vote. Dito po tayo boboto under an automated election system. So normally, merong queuing yan, but if you vote in your polling place, in your accessible polling place, you will also have to vote in a first come first serve basis. No, but if you will vote in your regular precinct, you will be given the priority in the express lane. All right, just to give you the setup in a polling precinct. Okay, so there is uh, the steps are: you get the ballot, then you are issued the ballot, then you go to the voting area to accomplish the ballot, then you go to the machine to insert the ballot, then you go back to the BEI uh, for some other requirement of signing, and the uh, the indelible ink are placed in your finger. So, and then you go out. So that's the typical scenario. That's the typical setup and process in casting your vote. Remember that normally we have 12 voters or 10 voters at a time voting. But during the pandemic, uh, the number of voters will be reduced to 5 or to 6. No? The dry run for this will be the Palawan plebiscite on March 13, where we apply the health and safety protocols in the voting process. All right. So what do you do during voting? You normally go to the door or in the door of the voting precinct or the classroom and look for your name. So that's first. No? But it's best that you know your precinct number before you can reach that particular precinct, or classroom assignment. So look for your name. Then again, you need to approach the electoral board that this is my number, the sequence number as listed outside. Then the electoral board or the chairman will give you the ballot. So that's the appearance of a ballot. Ganyan po yung itsura ng balota na bibigay sa inyo. Bibigyan din kayo ng marking pen. Ito po yung marking pen. Hindi po kayo gagamit ng sarili nyong ball pen, but you will be provided with marking pen. Then you will be provided with a ballot secrecy folder so that nobody would see your votes. No? So meron yang cover na bibigyan ka para pag bumoto ka, tatakpan mo yung ballot mo. Okay? So just to give you an idea, yung ballot merong timing marks, itong mga square, meron siyang QR code, meron siyang clustered precinct. Remember that the ballot is precinct specific. So the ballot from clustered precinct A cannot be used in clustered precinct B. So clustered precinct B also, the ballots there assigned to that machine cannot be used for clustered precinct C. So it's precinct specific. When you insert the ballot scans both sides, no, up and the other portion or the other side. So the ballots or the machines also identifies photocopied or duplicate or previously inserted scanned ballots. So pag merong ganon, hindi na siya again, you will be provided with the ballot. Then it's now time for you to prepare your ballot. Okay, as a general rule, the voter should prepare the ballot by himself or herself alone. No, nobody should prepare the ballot except the voter, except for persons deprived of liberty, rather for persons with disabilities. So were physical disabilities. So these are the persons that could vote through an assistor or with the help of an assistor. So pwede yun. No? Okay. So, all right. All right. So next is, during an automated elections, all the names of the candidates are already listed in the ballots. So the casting of votes consists of shading the oval corresponding to the candidate of your choice. So meron kayong marking pen, then you have to shade the oval corresponding to the name of the candidate of your choice, whether candidate or party list in case of party list system. So it's similar to a touch move system, no? Pag bumoto na kayo, that's it. You cannot overvote. Otherwise, it cannot be counted, no? So, for example, mayor, you only have to vote to shade one because there's only one position for mayor to be elected. If you vote for two candidates for mayor, both of your choices will not be counted by the machine. So, but you can undervote or you can abstain. Pwede kayong hindi bumoto. That's the difference between anong pag-shade ng balota. Okay? There is an oval before the look at this, uh, if you check just a mere check or an X or a little circle or a dot or a line, uh, that's not advisable. No, it should be the entire the entire oval is shaded. Okay, so make sure to shade. But the threshold in COMELEC is at least 50% of the oval is shaded. But I advise everyone to shade when you cast your vote to shade the entire oval full. Okay, so look at this. Ano yung maling pag-shade, ano yung tamang pag-shade. Okay? So, do not overvote again. If you overvote, it will invalidate all your votes for a particular position. So, there are samples of valid and not valid shading. You know? If you occupy at least 50% of the oval, if you shaded at least 50%, the machine will read the vote. But below 50%, the machine will not vote. But it's best to shade the oval fully, no? Full. Okay. You're not allowed to take a copy of your ballot, no? Even if it is your ballot, you are not supposed to take photograph. No, that's not allowed. That's an election offense. So wag natin picturean. Okay. Now, so after you have prepared the ballot at napili nyo na yung kandidato na gusto nyong iboto, you are now ready to go to the machine. Ito yung gagamitin na machine. No? For those who have not yet voted or not yet registered, this is the vote counting machine that we used in the 2016 and in 2019 elections. So if you notice that open wide and the ballot entry slot is where you feed the ballot. So ito po yung there's an LCD screen. So that's the VCM. In 2010 and 2013 we have the PCOS, no? Or the precinct count optical scan machine. Pero that's the same system. Ito yung optical mark reader system, automated election system. So pareho lang sila, pero this is a more model machine, no, yung VCM. So yung inserting the machine can be done in 4 orientations, no? Pwedeng yung sa taas ng heading ang una, pwede rin baliktarin, pwede. So all 4 orientations pwedeng gawin for purposes of inserting the ballot into the machine. Okay? So after inserting the ballot, normally people would still cover the ballot with the ballot secrecy folder para hindi makita ng ibang tao yung kanyang binoto. Okay? So after inserting okay, so yun yung nasa L has been counted by
Hello, Sir Jovy. I think we're having a little bit of difficulty hearing your audio.
go directly to
Hello, Sir
the
Jovy. Mahina po ang audio.
box. Yeah. Hello, hello.
You're back, sir.
Yan, ma'am.
Thank
Okay na
you.
ba? Okay na? Okay na
Yes,
ako?
sir. Go ahead.
Can I proceed?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sir Jovy. Go ahead, Sir Jovy. I think we're trying to recover the connection of Sir Jovy. All right. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for the resumption of that connection, I'd like to ask everyone kung nasagot nyo na po ba yung pinatakbo nating poll. I think we asked a few questions with regards to your difficulties in being part of the election.
Yes, ma'am. Nasagot ko na po.
Hello?
Thank you.
Andiyan
All
na si
right,
Sir
so
Jovy.
Yes.
Sir Jovy's back. Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Whew. Okay. All right. So, pagkatapos pagkatapos makita sa screen yung congratulations, the machine will release the voter receipt, no? So makikita nyo merong lalabas na isang receipt. Okay? So that receipt will confirm the list of candidates that you have voted on, no? So
Sir, please share your screen again.
okay. Mamaya na. So, hello, ma'am. Share my screen. Okay.
We can see your screen now, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, okay. Just wait for a minute, huh? So I'm supposed to be in the voting now. Okay. Okay. So just take note that you have to cover your ballot all the time because that's the essence of a secret balloting. So dapat hindi siya inexposed. That is why it used to be a voting booth for every voter. Pero later on, nag-evolve na yung system. You're just provided with a folder to cover your ballot. But that the rule is you're not supposed to expose the contents of your ballot. That's not allowed, and that's an election offense. So that people would not have influence on other people, no? So yung iba kasi yung they would want to check kung tama yung binoto mo or sila yung binoto mo for some considerations. So as a rule, ballots are not supposed to be exposed to anyone. Kahit pagpasok sa machine, they should be covered. No? So pag may congratulations again, may lalabas na resibo. Ito na yung, before this has been controversial kasi how would they know daw that the machine really counted your votes? So here, you will see the names of the candidates that you have voted. Okay? So the president, vice president, the senators. Check. So the voter will have to read alone the contents of that screen, of that receipt. But the receipt will be taken or cut from the machine by the poll worker. No, so yung third member, kukunin niya yung resibo, then ibibigay sa voter. The voter will have to read it alone. Then after na mabasa niya, then ipapasok niya doon sa receptacle. So yung the voter receipt will be placed there. It's only the voter who knows the confirmation of these votes. So paano kung hindi tama yung nakalagay doon sa resibo? Well, there is a procedure for that. You can inform the electoral board so that the receipt will be part of the minutes, and it should be part of the minutes na kung meron nagkamali. No? But there could be several reasons na nag-iba, no? Maring hindi rin tama yung shading nyo. No? Maring iba yung na-shade nyo, so that makes it that's the reason. Okay. So pagbalik ng balota after the voter inserted the voter receipt, babalik siya sa electoral board chairman. Then he will be asked to sign the EDCVL or Election Day Computerized Voters List. Okay? Then but that's not the end, no? So pagkatapos niyang bumoto, the proof na bumoto na siya so that he cannot vote anymore. So meron tayong tinatawag na indelible ink, no? So normally nilalagay yan sa right fingernail, no? So doon sa base, extending to the base ng nail. So that's the proof that the voter has already voted. That ink is indelible, no? So kahit anong hugas niyo yan, you cannot remove that. So that's the purpose there, so that the voter would be marked as having cast his vote anywhere. So hindi na siya pwedeng bumoto. Paano kung wala siyang right finger? Pwede naman other fingers, no? Pag wala sa right lahat, pwede naman sa left. What is important is there is a sign, there is a marker that he has already voted. So if you notice during an election, for those who have not experienced yet, if you vote in 2022, you will have your right fingernail ink after you cast your vote. All right. So that's it. That's all about the casting of your votes. No. So the ballots are now inside the ballot box. Then what is left to you as a proof that you have voted is your voting record that you have signed and the indelible ink in your fingernail. Now, saan boboto yung ating mga person with disabilities and yung senior citizen? Yung person with disabilities, which include the neuro-developmental community members, no? Saan sila bumoboto? As what I've said, pwede kayong bumoto sa regular precinct assigned to you. Okay? Pag doon kayo boboto sa regular precinct, you will be in a courtesy or express lane, no? Pero possible if you have a handicap or physical handicap, it's advisable that you apply for voting in accessible polling place. Kasi sometimes pag multi-story building yan, your precinct might be assigned in a second story or three-story, third floor. So, pag may physical, hindi advisable sa iyo. Dapat pwede ka lang bumoto sa emergency accessible polling place. Sa kailan ka boboto sa emergency accessible polling place? Pag doon sa supplementary data, ang sagot nyo ay no. Doon sa if you want to avail, sagot nyo ay no. Pero during election day, ayaw mong bumoto dahil nasa second floor yung classroom mo, pwede kang bumoto sa emergency accessible polling place. Pero yung balota mo lang kukunin doon sa presinto mo ng support staff ng COMELEC, and you will have to accomplish the ballot or the voting. The shading could be done in the emergency accessible polling place on the ground floor. Then your ballots will be returned by the support staff to your regular precinct. Sila na mag-i-insert sa BCM or sa machine. Unlike in APP or accessible polling place, ikaw mismo yung magpapasok sa machine. Okay? So doon sila boboto. No? There is an express lane naman in every voting in a polling precinct kung nasa regular precinct sila boboto. Ito yung sinasabi nating emergency accessible polling place. Ini-establish ito ng COMELEC in every voting center. So kung yung mga nakarehistro dati, for instance, hindi naman sila PWD before, but they become one after the registration, they could register in emergency accessible polling place. Or for those voters where the voting center or the polling place is located in a building which is uphill or downslope, meron tayong emergency accessible polling place. So this is the system of voting for the PWD. In fact, we included the heavily pregnant women in the emergency accessible polling place. So nasa inyo po ang pagpili kung saan kayo boboto, pero it's best that you accomplish the supplementary data and you vote in an accessible polling place. Iba po yung APP sa EAPP. Tapos, so pag EAPP, yun yung permanent precinct na ng inyong voting na palaging nasa ground floor. Yung EAPP is also a temporary voting precinct for PWD, senior and heavily pregnant, which is also located on the ground floor. Kaya lang hindi ka nag-update ng voting record, so you can avail of the emergency accessible polling place voting system. Okay? So now, as a general rule, sabi ko kanina, all voters should accomplish their ballots alone, by themselves alone. So that's the general rule, except for persons with disabilities. No? In this case, the voter or the ballot can be prepared through the help of another person. That is the assistor. In this example that is shown to you, that's a blind person, whether partial or full blind. Then there is an assistor assisting him in the preparation of the ballot. Yung balota ay itatanong muna ng electoral board or BEI kung siya ba ang kanyang tinatalagang assistor. Okay? Because the assistor must be somebody which enjoys the trust of the voter. No? So he must take an oath na lahat ng isusulat niya ay yung kagustuhan or upon the instruction of the voter himself. Okay? So in order to avoid manipulation of the vote, dapat somebody of his choice. Sino ba ang pwedeng maging assistor? No? Ito yung sinabi natin kanina kung saan boboto yung PWD. So kung updated yung voting record, doon siya sa accessible polling place. Pag hindi siya nag-update, doon sa emergency accessible polling place. Okay. Some important rules in voting. Dugtong na lang yung other part natin mamaya. One vote for one positions, no? For mayor, governor, congressman. So you do not overvote. No? Again, if you vote for two candidates in the same position where the law allows the election of one, the vote shall be nullified. Hindi siya bibilangin ng machine. Okay? Regardless of whether you shaded candidate one first and the other one second. So hindi pwede. It's touch move, no? Kung baga kung sino yung binoto mo, dapat yun na. There is no such thing as changing of mind in an automated election. Unlike in a manual election where you can erase by a line or any marks that would show your desistance from further voting. So automated election, you only you have to decide, and the shading is final. Okay, so one vote for every candidate where the law allows the election of one. But you may abstain, as what I've said. Pwedeng hindi bumoto for a particular position. For instance, parehong kamag-anak mo or parehong kaibigan mo yung running for governor, then you may decide to abstain by not shading any there. You can undervote, but you should not overvote. Okay? So pwedeng, if there are 12 positions for senators, you can vote 10 or you can vote 5. But you cannot vote 13. You cannot vote 15. Because if you do that, all the 15 candidates will not, the votes for those candidates will not be counted. Okay, so you can undervote, but you cannot overvote. So that's the rule in an automated election. So never that you overvote. So doon sa manual elections, you can erase, no? You can change your mind. So here, you cannot change your mind. If you voted 8 councilors or city councilors, that's it. If you vote 9, all of your votes for those 9 will not be counted. All right. As a general rule, again, the voter should prepare the ballot by himself alone, except for the person deprived of liberty, and the disability is indicated in the list of voters. So sino pwedeng mag-assist sa kanya? Sabi nga natin kanina, the voter has supposed to have trust in the assistor. So pwede yung relative within the 4th civil degree of consanguinity or affinity. So hanggang first cousins, no? Ang pwedeng mag-assist sa kanya as an assistor. Kahit hindi sila magkasama sa bahay, for as long as they're relative within the affinity, that degree, pwede sila. Or pwede naman hindi niya kamag-anak, but the person is of his confidence and who belongs to the same household. Kasama niya sa bahay, pwedeng yung kanyang caregiver could be a person of his confidence na pwedeng maging assistor. Kung wala talaga, pwedeng any member of the electoral board could assist the voter. Okay? So at all times, the ballot should be covered, no? And it should not be shown to anyone while feeding the ballot. Okay? So having been registered and having been given about the procedures in casting your vote, I encourage everyone to register and to vote in the 2022 national and local elections. Your vote counts, and that is the opportunity for all of you to make known your choice of your leaders in the country, whether national or local. So as you know it, it is only during elections that people are equal, regarded as equal, regardless of your civil status, regardless of your gender, regardless of your physical or mental disposition. Your vote is equal to the vote of the others. So whether you are physically or mentally challenged or not, your vote is counted as one. Okay, so I encourage everyone who are here, who are qualified, who are 18 years of age, or those who will be 18 on May 9, 2022, to register in COMELEC offices nationwide, book an appointment, or personally go to COMELEC offices, or just wait for the satellite registration of voters in your area. The organizations of or members of the neuro-developmental community may request with the COMELEC election officer for the conduct of satellite registration in their area. So we can set we can set the registration so that we could maximize the participation of the persons with disability. So I encourage everyone to vote, to register, but you cannot vote if you will not register. So register to vote. So your voice, your choice. Okay, so with that, I thank once again, the ASP for this opportunity given to me, given to the Commission on Elections, particularly the Vulnerable Sectors Office, the VSO, for uh, this voters education that will encourage all our potential voters to participate by registering and voting in the 2022 elections. Thank you very much, ASP, and all the organizers and the other organizers in this voters education. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Director Jovy. Uh, there was a lot of things that was unpacked today, and we now have the opportunity to ask questions around that. And let's see. Let me just wait for Sir Jovy to unshare his screen.
Yeah. Stop share. Yeah.
All right. Maraming salamat po. So at this point, we are going into the open forum. I would just like to remind everyone that the open forum is a way for you to voice out your concerns. Please stay on mute until you are acknowledged for your questions. No? Remember that this forum is not about politics. We will not discuss personalities or parties. So wala tayong pag-uusapan tungkol sa politika. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand using the reactions button on the bottom of your screen. So kailangan po itaas ninyo yung kamay. Tapos po you wait for us to acknowledge you before you can ask your questions. When asking a question, yes, I can see that Carlo and can you also please use your name instead of your organization so that we can acknowledge you properly? ASP/DP24. Can you please add your name instead of your organization? All right. So also, because we are a big group, I hope that you are going to comply to our ground rules. Sir Jovy will still be around and he will be primarily the person to answer your questions. We do want to also acknowledge all of our partners, and we will ask all of them to ask their questions first before we go on and open to the rest of the group. So for our first question, it will be coming from Queenie Mapula, representing the Boundless Possibilities Foundation. Queenie, go ahead.
Hi. Number one. Okay. The first question is, a person cannot be considered disabled if he or she physically has it only. So, I am hoping that the facilitator will undergo a short seminar before the election day regarding people with neuro-developmental disabilities. It should be emphasized that they are not solely be classified to look for any physical disabilities on a certain person. Does the COMELEC has plans to look into this and be implemented?
Yes, we will definitely, in coordination or consultation with the sectors, uh, we will we will see and consider this matter, Queenie. With the help of the ASP perhaps or the rest of the associations here, we could plan out on on this, particularly in that aspect that you have mentioned.
That answers your question, Queenie. And we do have, there's a commitment from ASP to help in making sure that our
Bayan ba sa kwan ba?
whole whole employees
Kanang
participants
kung sa
are
kumusta kung
um,
election
are
siya, nang election naman daraya.
in to be able to help us. Sana po magkaroon ng pagkakataon para i-coordinate or i-facilitate ng COMELEC ang sensitivity training not just for physical disabilities but also neurodevelopmental conditions. So that's a very good input. Maraming salamat, Queenie. For our next participant with a question, I'd like to call on Ms. Bing Veloso, who is the representative of the Association for Adults with Autism Philippines. Go ahead, Ms. Queenie.
Thank you, Ms. Mona, being here. Sir, I have two questions. One is that I saw in the list that the PWD ID is not yet considered as proof of identity. Can this be included? And number two, how can we update the supplementary data online? Because I have registered, but I have not registered as a PWD. So those are the two questions, sir.
Yeah. On the first question, it's already included, no? So hindi na-reflect yan. So that's already included.
Thank you.
Just like on the ID for the NCIP, yung certification. So that's included now. Now,
Thank you, sir.
about the updating of the voting voting record, registration record, no? We will see if we can allow the updating. After all, that is not originally in the the Registration Act, no? So we will see if we can do that, no? Similar to the proposal now about the reactivation of registration, no? Kasi meron din tayong reactivation, no? If you failed to vote in 2 consecutive or successive elections, regular elections, your registration will be deactivated. So in other words, you will be delisted. So there is now a study whether the reactivation of registration for those who failed to vote twice could be done online or could be done not personal, no? So that's something that we will consider, Ma'am Veloso, no? Kasi yes, anyway that's only for that purpose. So perhaps we can do that, no, by allowing the updating of voting record so that you will be recorded as one of the in that sector, and the need for us to know the type of assistance that you would need on election day. Sige,
Thank you,
ma'am, we
sir.
will take note of that.
Another question, sir, last one, is that I just Googled if there was a Precinct Finder. I can't seem to find that. Is it available or not available anymore, the Precinct Finder?
At this time, ma'am, hindi pa po available yan, no? Because it used to be available, no, prior to that incident, that hacking incident,
Yes.
where the database of COMELEC were compromised to some extent, because it's available in the net, no, na anyone could check the precinct number. So hindi pa yan working right now. So the way to check your precinct is to call your COMELEC local office, or there's actually this VIS, pero kadalasan or kadamihan sa nagrereklamo is hindi nakakarating sa kanila. Ito yung voter information sheet, which supposed to be delivered to the voter at least 15 days before election day. Nakalagay doon yung precinct number mo. And saka, pero in your registration, in your application for registration, normally nilalagay namin yung precinct number na.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Nawala lang po, hindi ko malaman. So, dati, I would just go online and check. Ngayon, I think I need to go back to the on-site, sa ano mismo sa office, just to update the supplementary data and ano for that.
Yes, ma'am. But for your protection, syempre, if you can do that without necessarily going to the
Yes.
office, especially right now, siguro you can just call your election officer on that, and uh, of course you have to identify yourself kasi these are personal informations.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay. Sige, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
We will take note of your on the updating of vote registration record.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome
Thank
po.
you, Miss Bing, for your question. Now I'd like to call on Randy Motumul of Best Buddies Philippines. Randy, can you open your audio, please? Okay, we'll get back to Randy. Now I'd like to call on Carl Veluz. He had a question that he added to the thread earlier on voting by mail. Carl?
Oh, yes. Sir Jovy, will there be a voting by mail as inspired by the US elections last year? Will it be implemented here in the Philippines in case one wasn't able to go to the voting precinct?
All right. Hello, Carl. Uh, the there is a pending bill in Congress. That's the bill about Kimbo of Marikina City, calling for proposing for a voting by mail. So uh, the COMELEC is supportive of the early voting bills, no, including that postal voting. So if that is passed into law, then we can implement that, no, for especially that's especially for the senior citizen and person with disabilities. But as of now, there is no law yet, no, for the mail voting. So unless na it is passed, we cannot. But hopefully we can that bill would be passed in Congress. No, so there were already deliberations on that. In fact, we were asked to participate and make our position on there. We support, we fully support the voting by mail. In fact, there are other early voting bills in Congress and in the Senate. No, not voting by mail, but early voting for person with disabilities. Physical voting, but early. In other words, not on the one day synchronized voting for everybody. So that's one of the typical characteristics of the Philippine voting system, because we only hold election one day for both national and local. So it's sometimes a an organizational nightmare for COMELEC to conduct orderly an election like that. So in other jurisdictions, tama yun na meron ng early voting, meron ng postal voting or mail voting by mail. So we are supportive of that, Carl, but as of now, it's still in Congress.
All right. Thank you so much for that question, Carl. So let's wait for Congress to pass that law, no? So next, I would like to call on Red from the ADHD Society. Red Ligot, can you please open your
Hello.
camera so we can find you?
I've turned on my camera. Can you guys
All
see?
right.
Great.
So we can see you now. Thank you.
My question is regarding the concern of availing of assisters once you're at the electoral precinct. So like say if you don't have a family member that can assist you, and you have to avail of one of COMELEC's assisters who are already there, what sort of training are they equipped with? Because one instance where I see special training being required is for if an autistic person might be having sensory overload issues while at the precinct. They might be having anxiety issues, or they might have some fine motor problems where they're not really able to accurately shade the ballot. So what sort of training of assisters or other types of orientation or even of the actual autistic or other persons with neurodevelopmental disabilities does COMELEC provide?
Thank you, Red. No, we have our electoral boards or the teachers are trained or given some basic orientations on PWD sensitivity uh, uh, for them to handle or to apply during the voting. And also, we will be. That is why we are asking for the information of a registry for the PWD so that we would know the assistance needed on election day. So that for purposes of voting, we could request from the NGOs or or your association, for instance, to conduct the training or provide an assistor in every voting center. So that's the COMELEC lookout at this time. So we engage our electoral board again in a basic sensitivity or PWD sensitivity training on all types of disabilities, as well as the better way is for us to assign an assistor in every voting center. So it's therefore important for COMELEC to know what type of assistance will there be in every voting center.
Yes.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you so much for that
I have
question.
one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
So thank you for answering my question. So I guess another question I had actually was say you registered for voting. Apart from going to the actual um, like physical posting of registered voters, how else will registered voters be notified that they're included as registered voters? Just say personally, I can be pretty forgetful. Um, since I have ADHD, I might forget to check actually like going there at the physical place. Are there other ways of notifying uh, registered voters, like for instance, like email or other methods?
All right, we will look into that. Now, there is a law which requires us, the COMELEC, to inform you of your precinct number. So that's the voter information sheet, no? But we have a problem on delivering to 50 million voters the VIS in every election. So this has been a problem for us, no? Because the postal office would not deliver these documents, especially that these are free. So so these are free, so di nila na deliver yan. So I would suggest that we will consider if that could be done, or the verification about the precinct number be done online, or we will think of other forms of or methods of giving you the precinct number. As a general rule, uh, when you applied for your registration without notice that is coming from COMELEC after the election registration board hearing, your registration is presumed to be approved, no? Kasi ang rule is when you apply for registration, that will pass through a hearing of the election registration board. That's nationwide, no, in every COMELEC office. Uh, if there is an opposition to your application, you will be notified to appear. So if you did not receive any application or any notice from COMELEC, your registration is presumed to be have been approved. But your problem only is on the precinct number, no? So I would suggest if we cannot come up before election time about the solution, uh, just to call the COMELEC local COMELEC office or the VSO so that we could coordinate with the local office about your precinct number. And there is an important number that you also would want to be interested on, yung clustered precinct number, which is another than your established, yung precinct number that is given to you during registration is your individual lifetime precinct number. But every election, your precinct, your established precinct is clustered to other precincts, so that one machine for the clustered 5 or 6 precincts together. So your problem is kung anong clustered precinct mo, but yung solution about finding your clustered precinct is done. Meron kaming help desk in every voting center. Normally it is manned by the citizens arms or volunteers. Then we will have a precinct or school layout of the location of the classroom for every clustered precinct, so that the voters will be guided where to go on election day. Okay, so your name, so it's important therefore that you know your precinct number by calling the office of the election officer in your where you are registered.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Jovi, and thank you, Red, for your question. I'd now like to call on Randy. Randy, can you please open your audio now and your video so we can find you? Hello, Randy.
Sorry guys, our internet here is choppy right now. I have 2 questions for Sir Roven regarding the voting process. Number one, during the meeting previously, and then you mentioned also a while ago, after 2 successive votes, your registration be deactivated. Now, if you choose to reactivate your registration in another place, is that considered you transferred your voting area in that place also? And number 2, you mentioned also that you when you vote, unlike vote automatically, unlike manually, you have to choose your candidates carefully. Now, if you make a mistake, can you get another voting sheet so that you can fill out again?
Okay. Hello, Randy. No, on your first question about reactivation of registration. All right. If you fail to vote twice in 2 successive regular elections, the registration will be deactivated, meaning you will not be your name will not be found in the list anymore. No, that's just one of the grounds for deactivation. There are other grounds, but that's the most common. The other grounds is, for instance, a person has been sentenced to suffer a penalty for having committed a crime of penalty for more than 1 year. So 5 years after the service of the sentence, that's the only time that he can reacquire the right to vote. Now, but most common ground for deactivation is failure to vote in 2 successive consecutive elections. Now, the questions of Randy, I think, please correct me if I'm wrong. No, if you transfer residence after having failed to vote in 2 successive elections, can he do that? And will that mean already a transfer or reactivation and at the same time transfer? Yes. When you are, for instance, a registered voter in Quezon City and you failed to vote in 2 successive elections, then you have transferred in the meantime your residence to Manila, and you want to reactivate your registration, you can apply for a transfer of registration in Manila. Nakalagay dyan, transfer with reactivation. So, pwede na yan. So, your registration is reactivated. At the same time, your registration is transferred. So pwede yun. I'm hearing a sound. All right.
Yes, I was also hearing that. I think it's gone now. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Randy, for your question.
I
Our
think,
next,
ma'am, there's a second question. Uh, uh, the second question of Randy is about second ballot. This time, the rule this time is uh, one voter, one ballot. So, uh, the voter, even if he accidentally commit mistakes in the preparation of the ballot uh, by an erroneous shading of the oval for another candidate, he's not entitled to another ballot. So there is only an exceptional case that the ballot maybe the voter may be given another ballot. For instance, the ballot does not belong to that precinct, then the voter is entitled to a another ballot. But as a general rule, one voter, one ballot. So therefore, we advise all voters to be careful in the preparation of the ballot, particularly in the shading of the oval, so that the true intention of the candidates of the choice are reflected in the ballot.
correct. That's a very good question, Randy. So dapat po when you go to your voting center or voting precinct, dapat you already have a list of your candidates and you take your time. Wala naman po sir, ano, 'di ba? Parang time limit ang pag-shade ng mga bilog. Wala naman, sir?
Wala naman. You just have to be in the polling place within a reasonable period of time, no? Kasi meron din naman in some areas ginagawa ring dahilan yan or para hindi makaboto yung iba, no? Because there is supposed to be a minimum number or a maximum number of voters inside who can vote at a time, no? So hindi naman pwedeng mag-standby doon, pero they are given enough time to prepare the
Correct.
ballot.
That makes sense. Take your time pero bawal magtambay. Maraming salamat, Randy. Can we now hear from Ian Lopez from ASP Self-Advocate Circle? Ian?
Yes, I'm here, everyone. Good afternoon to all of our participants and our fellow speakers. So I do have a question in mind, but it's kind of out of scope. So I'll just ask this question instead.
Go ahead.
Have there been cases where precincts have been transferred from one school to another because of the number of voters, the availability of ballots and everything?
Pardon sir, pardon, hindi ko masyado nakuha yung question niyo.
Ang tanong ko po, Sir Joven, ay kung may mga kaso kung saan yung may mga voting areas ay nilipat or na-transfer. For example, yung isang voting precinct sa isang barangay nilipat from public school A sa kabilang barangay, nilipat sa public school B pero within the same barangay. So may mga ganong mga kaso.
If you transfer a voting center, we can do that only after compliance with the requirements by law, no? So your voting center is permanent as a general rule, unless there are justifiable reasons for the transfer of a voting center of a particular precinct. So as a rule, hindi po namin na ililipat yan, no? There are certain requirements, no? Halimbawa, it should be upon petition by the majority of the residents. Then it should be, pwede rin yung mode is by memorandum of agreement between COMELEC and the political parties. We cannot just transfer. So that's the bottom line. Voting centers are supposed to be permanent, no? But in practice, no, lalo na ngayon, we have some election offices or offices that transfers or requests for transfers of the voting centers or gives or makes additional requests for additional voting center kasi nga puno na masyado in previous elections. So pwede yan pero following the same procedure, no? May notice yan, notice to the voters concerned, notice to the political parties, because we want to make sure, the law wants to make sure that you cannot just arbitrarily do that, because the voters might be misled into their exercise of the right. Kasi kung hindi walang prosesong ganyan, then the COMELEC could just do that, no, na to the disadvantage of the voters.
Fair enough. I'll just pass the rest of the time to the other people who are interested to ask questions.
All
Thank you,
right.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Ian.
you.
Thank you so much. So I think we've gone through the questions from our partner organizations. Now we're going to open the floor to to general questions. Maraming salamat, Sir Jovy, ha. Marami pong tanong, maraming nakapila. So unahin natin si Carlo EY. Carlo, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sir Jovy. When I have a question now. What are the studies mo para sa hybrid possibility ng hybrid elections for the 2022 presidential elections? And also, what will be the plans of the COMELEC if this hybrid elections will push through?
Well, the hybrid elections is being proposed in the Senate now. As far as I know, it is being pushed or proposed in the Senate now. And the current status of this is we are sa COMELEC kasi we are just complying or implementing the law. No? So when the COMELEC, when there is a law on automation, we automate. So prior to the automation, we go manual. So if there is a law that would be passed about hybrid elections, we will do that. In fact, in last year, there was a time and motion demonstration by COMELEC personnel and some voters about the process in the hybrid election. So there is still an active proposed bill in the Senate, and the COMELEC sabi ko nga uh, will just be open for whatever the Senate would decide on that, no. Yung hybrid election, no, kasi the voting and counting will be manual. So we go back to the traditional manual count. In other words, no machine, no long ballot, but it's a blank ballot where the candidates will write the name of their choice. But the canvassing would be automated. So it will be counted, then transformed into a soft digital result. Then it will be transferred digitally to the canvassing center for the proclamation of mayor, vice mayor. No. So that's the hybrid. It's still an active bill, and the Congress and this in the Senate. And sabi ko nga, COMELEC would just uh, see kung, and we will implement whatever the outcome of that bill.
Just for context, Sir Jovy, si Carlo is from Cagayan de Oro. So is there any, kumaga, yung sinasabi nga nating hybrid election, no, mas relevant ba siya sa Mindanao or pare-pareho lang po?
Actually, pareho naman yan eh, kasi ang justification kasi ng mga proponents diyan, ang justification kasi diyan, o baga ang consideration is you in an automated election, you do not personally see how your vote is counted. But in a manual elections, you see the manual counting, so you are sure that the vote is accurately counted. But in a so that's the premise ng mga movers for hybrid. So in an automated kasi, but there are assurances about the random manual audit. Then there is this final testing and sealing of the machines. There is this source code review. These are the assurances that the machines will accurately count. Some would not believe that. So that is why there are proposals for a hybrid election, so that they will be satisfied that the voting and counting is done open to the eyes, open to the observation of everyone. Yung kasi yung pagkakaiba sa automated. Sa automated kasi we have to believe in the system, and we have to we can trust on the system. No? Kasi before an election machine is used, before the BCM is used in an election for the information of everyone, baka di lang nila alam, the machine would undergo a final testing and sealing, wherein there will be 10 ballots that will be tested in the polling precinct by the voters or by the watchers. Then after the 10 ballots are accomplished, it will be manually counted. Then the manual count result will be compared to the automated result. So that would make a conclusion that the machine really counted accurately. Then before it will be sealed, and it will be opened again on election day. That's the final testing and sealing that we do in an automated elections. And yet there are still groups that would want to believe that the better way is a manual counting and manual voting.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Jovi, and thank you, Carlo, for your question. Our next the next question will be coming from Paul Madriaga. Go ahead, Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. Paul from Dasmania City. And I have several questions in mind that some of it might be answered, but of course, Sir Joven, if you don't mind, how to tell if there would be something like a misuse prevention of the emergency accessible polling place, given that while I have successfully voted as a regular voter prior to the disability registration due to autism, let's face it, I have witnessed several misuse instances of such accessible functions or accessibility functions wherein they should be not belong to.
Would Paul be kind enough to be specific about incidents in the emergency accessible polling place voting system that would need uh, for some more uh, uh, action by the vulnerable sectors office in the future elections?
Say, for example, while I haven't encountered here in Dasmariñas City any instance of misuse, just to be specific, would it be possible for them to show up the identification card if they are truly a registered person with disability?
Okay. Normally, if the disability is not apparent, no, the electoral board are 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 given some basic instructions about determination and or if there are organizations in the area uh, that for PWDs, we ask their assistance to help us in identifying the persons whether they belong to the uh, person with disabilities so that they could avail of the emergency accessible polling place. Because that is also possible that initially when they registered, they answered no to the question whether they would want to avail of the APP. That is why they will have an option to vote in an EAPP or in the regular precinct where they're registered. So uh, in some cases that's difficult, no, especially kung hindi apparent yung disability. Uh, pero from the looks, it's apparent naman, they can be easily be allowed to vote in the EAPP. But we will consider that also as an issue that we would need the help of the organizations like the ASP for that purpose.
All right.
And
Thank you
so
so
thank
much.
you so very much.
Thank you so much, Paul. Our next question will be coming from RJ De Guzman. RJ, are you still here? Okay, I think we missed RJ. RJ might have really gone out. So our next question would be from Gabrielle Thomas Refarial. Go ahead, Gabrielle. Go ahead, Gabrielle. Do you have a question? Okay, I think Gabrielle needs some more time. So next question is from Kevin and Sol Bautista. Go ahead, Miss Sol and Kevin.
Hello, sir. Hello, Sir Joven and Tita Mona.
Hello.
Well, I have two questions about the registration. Well, okay. First question. I already voted during the 2019 elections, but I don't remember if I registered myself as a PWD when we were registering for the 2016 elections due to our transfer from Quezon City to Parañaque City. We now live in Parañaque right now.
So what's your question?
So sir, pwede ba
I
yun na
cannot
parang
remember.
bago
Is
lang
there a way
kayo
for me to inquire online for my registration record? About my registration record for elections?
So Sir Jovi, he did not register as a PWD earlier, but can he register as a PWD now?
She misunderstood my question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Can I clarify? I did
Go
not.
ahead.
I don't remember if I registered myself as PWD, but I registered as a family.
With me.
I registered with my family.
Okay. Sige. You can still, that's precisely the project that we have launched. No, ito yung updating of registration record. So you can still do that. In fact, meron din mga tao that after registration saka lang nagkaroon ng disability. So with more reason na pwede. So you can do that now by accomplishing the supplementary data.
Right.
Yes. We have shown in the screen a while ago about the supplementary data. It's very simple. You just have to check your type of disability, and you have to check the type of assistance on election day that you need, and it is submitted to the COMELEC. Now, if you want to transfer your registration to Parañaque now, you have to apply for a transfer of registration record so that your registration will be from ano ba, from Manila, or will be transferred there
Quezon City to Parañaque.
from Quezon City to Parañaque. Doon na siya mapupunta, then doon mo na rin i-update yung voting registration record by accomplishing the supplementary data. So you will be listed now there as part or one of the PWD, and the COMELEC would know the type of disability and the type of assistance that you would need on election day.
So you can
Okay.
your second question.
All right, thank you.
So I have a second question about the categories in the supplementary form.
Kevin, hello. Can I get back to you? The next person to ask a question is Rav Lomboy. Is that okay?
Okay.
We'll circle back.
Thank you.
Okay, then.
All right. can we get Rav Lomboy to open his microphone, please?
Hello.
Go ahead, Rav.
Do I still need a biometric? Sorry, do I still need a biometric registration again? Because as a matter of fact, I already vote twice. I already vote twice.
When was the last time that you voted? In 2019?
2019, 2017, and 2015.
Okay.
Do I still need a biometric again? As what I said, I already voted twice.
No more. No more.
Okay.
No
Thank
more.
you for your question, Rav. Very
Thank you.
quickly, Matt, can you open your mic? Matt Sumera.
Hello po, Sir Joven. How
Hello.
can I register online po for the election? And number two, can we use PWD ID for during the election for online po, Sir Joven?
Okay. Sa ngayon, there is only a partly online registration in COMELEC. No? Ito yung iRehistro na tawag namin, iRehistro, which you can open doon sa COMELEC website. Yung iRehistro,
question.
yeah. In iRehistro, you will have to accomplish the registration form. Then you have to print that. Then you have to set an appointment and go to COMELEC for the taking of the capturing of your biometrics data. So, kahit nag-accomplish ka pa rin ng 3 copies of the registration form online, meron ka pa ring part na pupunta ka sa COMELEC. That is for the taking of your or capturing of your biometrics data. Okay, so obligado kang pumunta. So, there is no such thing sa ngayon ng completely online registration. Ano sir yung pangalawang tanong niya?
Sir, paano pong gamitin po yung mga ID po during the election po? PWD ID, PhilHealth ID po.
Okay, pag during the election, as a general rule naman, you are not required to present ID when you are there to cast your vote, di ba? For as long as you can establish your identity, but if ang rule kasi, a voter is not supposed to present an ID during voting. That's not required, except if your identity is being challenged by any voter in the precinct or any watcher for that matter. So if there is a challenge, that is the only time that the voter's identification is required to be presented. So pwede naman yung mga ID nyo ng PWD, that's an acceptable identification document for purposes of proving your identity and proving your residence. In fact, identity lang ang pinag-uusapan on election day. That could be a ground for the challenge of a voter. Kasi ito yung pag-iwas sa challenge sa yung flying voter, no? Kasi there were some incidents daw na nasabi nila na a person who is working abroad, there is somebody who is trying to vote for that person. So if there's a challenge of that person who is attempting to vote, that's the only time that he is required to present an ID. Pwede po yung ID nyo sa PWD.
Okay. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
po.
your question, Matt. Maraming salamat. Next up, we have Dan Mardaya with your question. And by the way, napakasarap po talaga magtanong, pero we have to start closing up. So we're just going to take the next 3 questions. So go ahead, Danmar, ask your question.
Ito po, matanong ko lang po. Kahit yung may autism, 14 years old po, pwede po ilan taon dapat magparehistro yung SK for the next election po ng SK tsaka barangay election po.
For the SK, no? Ang SK kasi, ang SK kasi,
B po.
medyo hindi ko narinig yung last part. No? Pero if he's asking for the SK elections, uh, the the age minimum age requirement for SK is 15 years old on election day, on the SK's election day. So ang SK natin would be on, I think, December of 2022. So if ever we could determine na the date of the election, uh, if an applicant for registration is already 15 on election day on December 2022, pwede na siyang mag-apply as SK. No, ang SK kasi 15 to 30 years old. Uh, Kaya ang SK na 18 years old na, dalawang beses siyang boboto. Boboto siya sa barangay, at the same time boboto siya sa mga SK, no? In fact, pwede siyang tumakbo pa sa SK kasi hanggang 24 years old naman sa SK. May overlapping ang SK, no? You're talking of a manual barangay and SK elections dito. So, 15 to 30 years old.
Alright. Thank you, sir. Maraming salamat, Danmar, sa iyong tanong. Let's go back to Kevin. Kevin, your second question, please.
Okay. Right. So here's the second question. I noticed in the supplementary form that I do not see which category autism can fall under. What I saw in the supplementary form are speech, visual, non-manifest, and something physical, and hearing, something like that. I don't remember where.
So it wasn't clear.
It wasn't clear to me.
Sir Jovy, may I answer that? Because I
Yeah.
actually asked that of NCDA. We were making that question also. How come autism is not there? Because that is a specific diagnosis. I think in the general forms of COMELEC, they followed certain standards that are set by DOH and the NCDA. So autism falls under non-apparent disability.
Oh,
So that is the area where we fall under.
oh yeah.
Usually neuro-developmental conditions without physical markers like autism, like like ADHD, we fall under non-apparent disability.
Oh, right.
All right. Thank you so much for
you, Tita Mona.
that question, Kevin. And our next question is Joven Guerrero. Joven, go ahead. Open your video, please.
Ayun na po, ma'am. Hello po,
Alright.
good afternoon po.
Yes,
Sige
Joven,
po,
go ahead.
Kay Sir Jovy po, yung question ko po, meron po ba tayong parang copy or percentage sana na kung ilan po ba talaga, kung ilan po yung bumoboto ng mga PWD sa particular sa aming lungsod sa Quezon City, dahil nga po kung pakikita po natin dito sa aming city po ay meron kami 76,437 na registered PWD. So meron po ba tayong percentage kung ilan po ba yung bumoboto talaga? Para yung iba naman po, para ma-engage din po sana namin yung ating mga PWD na mag-participate po sa electoral process. Kung meron po bang ganun sa percentage?
Yes, Tokayo, no? We have
Yes po.
we have the statistical report on voters turnout in every municipality and every city nationwide. So you can request for the statistical data stating the purpose of your request. So we have that, no? Yung aming kasing data ng PWD and senior citizen sa ngayon, yung ating registered not been recorded, pero meron din tayong mga voters turnout per city, per municipality. So if you want a specific in Quezon City, we can provide you with that, citing your purpose of the request. Kasi meron sa COMELEC, meron kaming tinatawag na election records and statistics department that gathers the data from the election officers. You can also have the record from the COMELEC office in Quezon City in every district if you are near there. Otherwise, you just course through your request through the Vulnerable Sectors Office o kaya sa Election Records and Statistic Department ng COMELEC. And they will provide you with the statistical data that you need to know about the PWD voting.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Joven. Sir, also like to ask, no? Kasi there is a law also that requests or requires the DOH to have a registry of PWDs. Has there been any attempt to calibrate the list of COMELEC with the list of DOH?
Well, as far as I know, they have not sit down on this, no? Probably this time that the VSO has already been created, pero before kasi all the sectors have been in a committee, no? Na meron mga PDL committee, merong IP committee, merong senior citizen, and pero after an election sometimes hindi na yan operational. So this time na meron ng VSO, I think, at saka meron ng instead of the 6 disabilities, DOH, ang sabi nila, we have now 9 forms or types of disabilities that for that reason, we might revise the form after the approval of the Commission and Bank so that we would reflect all the 9 types of disabilities currently being after being the standard na diyan sa Department of Health.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Our last question for today is actually si Ronald. Ronald Rivera.
Good afternoon po, sir. May tanong po ako. Yung kailangan po ba yung voter's ID? Kasi wala po akong nare-receive, hindi po ako nakakuha po ng voter's ID kasi nung since 2014. Pero bumoboto naman po ako ng election 2016 and 2019. Pero ang gamit ko po kasi valid ID po.
Okay. So we apologize for that. No, wala pa kasi hindi na nag-produce ang COMELEC ng hindi na siya nag-print ng voter's ID. No, kasi we are anticipating the implementation of the national ID system, which includes the COMELEC in the consolidated identification system. So instead of having our own ID, we intend to have the ID together with the rest in that national ID system. But if you still want an identification, please check with your COMELEC office kung meron ng printed, kasi marami rin kaming printed ID na hindi pa kinukuha. Ilang millions pa in our COMELEC offices nationwide ang aming na-print na ID pero hindi naman pa kinukuha ng mga botante. Please check kung nandun yung pangalan nyo. Kung wala naman, and if you really want an ID, sa ngayon we can print a temporary ID in every COMELEC office. Or if you want a registration record for other personal purposes, you can request for a certified true copy of your voter registration record, which you can also use as a substitute for an ID, COMELEC ID. Pwedeng gamitin yan sa pag-process ng iyong passport or any personal document. Sa ngayon, wala po kaming printing ng valid ID, ng voter's ID. So lahat ng nagparehistro, I think the last printing that we have is 2012 or 13. So check mo lang kung nandun yung pangalan mo, kasi kung 2014 baka nandun yung ID mo sa COMELEC office ng kung saan kayo nakarehistro. Pero yung 2014 onwards, hindi na nagpe-print ang COMELEC ng voter's ID.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your question, Ronald, at maraming salamat po sa questions ninyong lahat. Napaka-importante talaga na isa-isahin natin yung mga tanong ninyo. If
Yes.
you have more questions, you can send it to autismfails@gmail.com para po makita ninyo, para po mapadala natin, ma-escalate natin sa COMELEC. So, Sir Jovy, I'd also like to share the results of the poll that we took. We are sharing the poll results with you today. Nakikita niyo po ba sa screen niyo? Alright,
Yes.
so
Yes.
according to
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Confirm. Confirm.
all right,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
saw it.
So according to our poll for this afternoon, we have 76% of the people in the room actually have voted before. So yung mga iba magboboto pa lang or magre-register pa lang. Have you had difficulties casting your vote? So
No.
85% po nagsabi na wala naman silang na-experience na difficulties. It would be interesting though to those who actually said they had difficulties casting their votes. Baka naman po pwedeng mag-email din kayo sa atin para malaman ng COMELEC kung ano yung mga naging problema ninyo.
Yes,
So
yes.
we'll deep dive and make sure that we address that. So before we close our session for today, I'd like to ask Sir Senin, pwede bang magpa-group picture muna tayo?
Yes, sige. Group
Alright.
picture.
Can you open all of your
Please open your camera.
cameras, please, so we can have
Please.
our group photo? Alright. In a few
Bali
more
up.
seconds, open your
Okay.
cameras, please. Ready?
Please open your camera.
Alright.
Open now.
1, 2, 3. Group
Okay.
1, done. Next.
Wait lang, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry. Tapos na group 1.
Okay,
Smile
done.
lang kayo ng smile.
Done. Okay, next.
Alright. Next group.
Wait lang.
1, 2, 3.
Wait lang, ma'am. Medyo nag-ano eh.
Nagde-delay po ang camera ni Sir
Nagdi-delay eh.
Leah.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile.
Smile.
Alright. Group 3. Napakalaki po ng ating group today. So group 3, can you please give us a nice smile? 1, 2, 3, smile. And group 4, our last group. 1, 2, 3.
Wait lang po.
Alright, wait lang daw.
Wait.
Alright,
Last
1, 2,
group na.
3. Smile.
Okay, smile.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, today has been a really long day. I think there's been a lot of good information that we all received. I would like to thank, of course, Sir Jovy for taking the time for being with us today. I think we already lost Commissioner Armamento, but Commissioner Armamento and Commissioner Guanzon are really good supporters of the PWD group, and we need to help them understand our condition more. So for our closing remarks, I'd like to welcome the president of the ASP Self Advocate Circle, Mr. Ian Lopez.
Thank you, Ms. Mona. And first of all, I would like to appreciate those who are participating through Zoom and through Facebook Live, especially those that are watching the replay. So Team Replay, thank you very much. And thank you for our participants that have sent in their questions. We also thank those that are part of the panel, and we also would like to thank our distinguished speakers. It is very important that we have to exercise our right to vote. Even though we have doubts, or even if we have to say that democracy is a bad thing, at least we should try. In my opinion, even though I have my own doubts, it is important that we should at least try. And additionally, we should also vote not just based on personality or popularity, but also what can the candidate do for our communities? What can the candidate do for people on the autism spectrum? What can the candidate do for PWDs? And additionally, what can the candidate do in order to preserve and protect and even maximize our rights, and hopefully remind us of our responsibilities? It is important that our candidate does not endorse the taking does not does not endorse or even advocate that certain rights be taken away for people just because of their political opinions, especially the right to protect themselves from harm and danger from others. Again, thank you very much, and I hope that we do vote next year, and hopefully that we as Filipinos can not just vote wisely but also choose for better systems and better people, not just
Thank
for
you so
us,
much.
but for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat sa pagtapos nitong seminar na to. This is the first of many learning opportunities this week, the National Autism Consciousness Week. The Autism Society Philippines has been at the forefront of this commemoration for many, many years. And this week, we would not be able to do this without the help of COMELEC, Commission on Human Rights, and many other partners such as SM Cares, Norfield Foundation, Leonard Cheshire Philippines Disability Foundation, Philippine Information Agency, ASEAN, and the ASEAN Autism Network. Marami pong mga advocates na patuloy na nagbibigay importansya, kahalagahan dito sa ating komunidad. Again, maraming salamat at we hope to see you in our next events. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Be safe, be well, stay sane, enjoy, and you are loved.
Yeah.
Thank you po, Tito Mo and Sir Jovy.
Hopefully, ma'am.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, hopefully,
Bye.
ma'am.
Bye-bye, ma'am.
Ang topic natin for next
Bye.
seminar, ma'am,
Ma'am.
is yung sa vaccines, ma'am.